Well, good afternoon, class. As you can imagine, it's been a long couple of days. I'm here in icy Roanoke. I wasn't even sure that I was going to be able to get to my office today. I woke up this morning and we had no power, so I still have no power in my house, and there was a sheet of ice over literally everything around us. So I was able to kind of chip away at it and get out on the road, and had to run and get my wife and I and our kids some breakfast and coffee so that we didn't go nuts. And then I was able to finally get to my office so that I could get busy with grading your discussion boards, and so those are done. All in all, it was a good showing. You guys did well. Thankful that I was able to get here and get that done. I looked over some of the quiz grades, and again, you guys are really impressive in the way that you were doing on the quizzes. It's amazing. I mean, I think half of the grades were A's, and that's unknown. You just don't see that. So really, great job, guys. I'm really proud of the way that you guys are studying and working hard. Also, can see many of you are beginning to really take notice of some of the things that I've said over the past couple of weeks, and so good work there. Just keep working at it. Let me just make a few comments about this upcoming discussion board. First of all, this one, you're going to have several different choices, and things get a little bit, I wouldn't say more difficult. You just have to pay attention to a little bit more detail. Like, for example, the first question has to do with 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, and discussing, who were the opponents, also the occasion and purpose of 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, excuse me. Now, what I want to make sure that you do for this question is make sure that you give me the purpose for 1st Thessalonians and for 2nd Thessalonians. Don't just combine them into one, and make sure you show that there's a difference between the purpose for each of them. Also, just make sure you answer the rest of those questions that are in number 1. Now, the second one has to do with the various interactions Paul had with the church at Corinth. And as you do your reading this week, you'll recognize that there are more letters to the church at Corinth than just 1st and 2nd Corinthians. So you'll need to line out from a chronological perspective the order of letters, visits, letters, visits, that type of thing. Make sure you get that correct, and try to give the scripture notations, references that help us to establish this order. And then make sure, again, you answer all the various parts of that question, especially the part about the different views about the opponents that Paul dealt with in Corinth. Then he talks about, then the next question, number 3, has to do with the purpose of 1 Corinthians, but then also the purpose of 2 Corinthians. And again, make sure you write on both of those. Now, the thing that a lot of students neglect on this particular question is it asks for a literary plan for 1st and 2nd Corinthians. Make sure you do that part of the question. Explain what is a literary plan for 1 Corinthians, and explain what kind of helps us to understand what that is. And then the 2nd Corinthians is a little more complicated, because the literary plan has to do with some of the issues regarding interpolation. I don't even know if I'm saying. I'm so tongue-tied right now. But anyway, so make sure you look at that and just be able to explain what the literary plan was for 2 Corinthians 2. So I think that you'll do fine if you just make sure you do each part of the question. And then there's a question on Romans, the occasion and the purpose for Romans. What was the church made up of? And just line that out, answer each part of the question as thoroughly as possible, and I'm sure you'll do a good job. And then the last question has to do with defining terms, really from Pauline perspective. One has to do with the righteousness of God, and as you define that term, make sure you list the different ways the righteousness of God can be interpreted in Paul's epistles. And then talks about faith. Make sure you explain from the textbook, any of the sources, what does faith mean for Paul? Don't just don't just quote a bunch of scriptures. Define that well. What is faith for Paul? And then justification. Then explain what exactly does that mean. And so it's all right there. I think you guys do a fine job on these questions. Again, I need to encourage you to work towards your paper, your second Temple paper. You need to make sure you're securing good sources. Also, make sure that you get some sources that are specific to your special topic that you choose, and begin to work that out. You only got a couple weeks left, and it's going to be due, and it's a lot of work, and it's a big part of your grade, a huge part of your grade. So make sure that you do the best possible work you can. If there's any question about how to cite a particular source, whether in the footnotes or bibliography, just check it out in the manual or Turabian and get that taken care of. And again, listen, shoot me an email if you have any questions. Do my best to answer them. And look forward to seeing the next discussion board. And I hope that you guys have a great week and that it's warm and dry wherever you are. All right, see ya. Take care.